If there's one weakness that I used to have when it came to managing money, it was a shopping spree. And if you're watching this, chances are you might feel the same way too. So in this video, I'm sharing 7 strategies that help me stop my overspending and overshopping so that I can invest more. Let's get into them now. Tip number 1, have 1 to 2 buy days per week. When you have an experience for the first time, it feels amazing. But over time, you kind of get used to it. And this is what researchers call hedonic adaptation. And it means that things that initially brought us a boost of happiness stop having that same effect over time. In financial terms, all of those little things that we might be buying each day, that daily cup of coffee, the stop at the grocery store for a quick treat, or the midweek trip to the mall, eventually become habits that don't actually provide any happiness because we've gotten so used to it. No spend days are about resetting that norm so that when you do spend money, 3 things happen. 1, you can actually savor the experience rather than letting it blur into the background of daily life. 2, you'll be much less likely to make an impulse purchase. And 3, it's easier to stay on top of your budget since you don't have to worry about little purchases here and there that are easy to forget about, but definitely add up. So now most of my days each week are no spend days, and that's just my default. But I'll pick 1 to 2 days where I want to intentionally plan for my shopping. And that includes groceries, takeout, clothing, makeup, essentially anything that doesn't have an auto pay feature or require a subscription like an electric bill, a car payment, or rent. And having fewer days where I'm spending just makes it automatically easier to spend less. Tip number 2 is to create a wish list. I create a wish list for every single non-essential item that I want to buy. And I keep it in my phone in my little notes app, and I'll track the item, a link to where I can buy it from, and how much it costs. Usually my list is filled with a lot of clothing or footwear because that's usually what I like to treat myself to. But I also include home items, experiences, vacations, anything else it is that I want to buy. And then when I want to treat myself, when I've followed my budget and I have money reserved and set aside for those wants, I'll look over the list, pick something out, and then I'll buy it. And this means that I usually end up buying the items that I want most overall, not just the item that I wanted in a moment, and I am much less likely to make a purchase that I'll regret in the future. Tip number 3 is to plan milestone mementos. While the first 2 tips are focused on cutting down spending, this one actually adds in more, but it's one of my absolute favorites and something that I've done from the very start of my investing journey. The idea behind these milestone mementos is that once I hit a financial milestone, I'll get myself a reward for reaching that goal. These rewards are, of course, appropriately sized in comparison to the goal. You want to make sure that they're not setting you back, but the idea is that you're treating yourself for the hard work and progress that you've made along the way. For instance, when I hit my first 10K invested, I took myself and a friend out to a nice meal, a nice dinner at a local restaurant. Then when I hit 100K, I bought a new set of these fancy ceramic mugs for my kitchen. Actually, this one right here. And then when I hit $1 million, I bought myself my first ever designer handbag. These can be experiences or physical items as long as they're meaningful to you and something that brings you joy. And in the future, whenever you think back on that vacation or use the coffee machine or wear that bag for a night out, you'll have a little reminder of how your hard work paid off. And that'll give you a boost of motivation to reach the next milestone that you might be working on. Money is a long game, and thoughtfully rewarding yourself for the smaller wins along the way makes it much more likely that you'll stick to the plan and reach your goals sooner. Tip number 4 is the 48-hour rule. Every now and then I run across an item that I wasn't planning to buy but is really tempting, and this happens to me far more than I'd like to admit. But whenever I'm tempted to buy something on the fly, I add it into my wish list and I make myself wait at least 48 hours before I actually pull the trigger and buy it. 9 times out of 10, what ends up happening is that I completely forget about it. And in the process, I end up saving myself however much money I would have spent had I bought it in the moment on that whim. But on the rare occasion where I do still want the item after 48 hours has passed, I'll buy it guilt-free. Tip number 5, avoid shopping sales. When I was younger, my family used to make an event out of shopping sales, like going to the Nordstrom anniversary event or lining up for Black Friday, and we'd end up getting so caught up in the rush we would spend hundreds of dollars on things that ended up collecting dust in our closets. What I realize now is that there is a big difference between buying an item that's on sale and buying an item because it's on sale. And with sales in general, that markdown, whether it's an extra 20, 30, 40%, whatever, it's all just a sales tactic that's designed to get you to talk yourself into believing you're getting a good deal so that you'll eventually buy it. Now, if there's a sweater that you've had your eye on and were planning to buy anyway, maybe it's been on your list for months, and it's now been marked down from $200 to $120, then yes, buying it is saving you $80 because you were going to buy it anyway. But if you didn't intend on purchasing that sweater, but just got it because it was on sale, then you haven't actually saved any money at all. You've just spent $120 that you weren't planning on. So whenever I feel tempted to buy something that I find on sale, I ask myself if I'd have wanted to buy it when it was at full price. Would it have made my wish list? And then if the answer is no, I put it back and save my money for something that I'll love more. Strategy 6, buy once, cry once. Years ago, I used to shop at all the fast fashion stores that you could think of. H&M, Forever 21, Zara, you name it. But today, none of those are in my closet. And that's because over time, I spent so much money and noticed that I would only be able to get a couple uses out of each item that I bought, either because it started to just fray and fall apart, or it just went out of style. And then I'd have to go back to the store to replace it and then get caught in this cycle of wasting money all over again. These days, if I find something that I like, if I know that it's well made, if it feels comfortable, and if it's something that's more of a classic versus a trending item, I'm willing to spend more on it because I know that I'll be able to get more use out of it than, say, something from Forever 21. So I've now built up more of a capsule wardrobe, which is just a few high quality basics that I can mix and match together and that I know will survive for years and years and years. Tip number 7 is to love what you own. When you're shopping less, you're going to be much more likely to actually remember and appreciate the items that you do have in your closet. But I like to take that one step further, doing things like taking clothing to the cleaners regularly or getting them altered to fit you perfectly turns totally average items into ones that feel like they were tailor-made just for you. And then nothing off of the rack at the store is going to be able to compare with the items that you already have in your closet at home. I also like to physically store away my clothes whenever the season is over. So for instance, when fall rolls around, I'll store away all of my summer clothes and pull out the cold weather items that I had tucked away. My sweaters, my boots, my coats, and opening those back up feels like I'm discovering all of those pieces for the very first time. So there you have it, the 7 strategies that I used to curb my shopping habits so that I could invest more. I hope you found this helpful, and I'll see you in the next video.